Coach, kind of a general question on Brenen Thompson. You know, he's had a phenomenal senior year so far. Obviously, he's had some great accolades here. What can you just talk about his track season and maybe what you're kind of hoping for him kind of going in? You also gave us some good stories on signing day as well.
Yeah, this Brenen was a huge priority for us in the recruiting process. You know, we had been recruiting him for about a year at the previous school, Coach Banks and I. I mean, we really felt like, man, this kid is a very gifted football player. We knew he was fast, right? And that was clear. How fast could he become? And then getting in and around his family, his community, the team, the kind of person that he is, I thought, man, this is the exact kind of kid we want on our football team. And what an unbelievable track season he had, especially coming off of the injury during the football season, but to go, you know, I think whatever it was, 10-2 or something in the 100 and 20.7 in the 200. I just think it speaks to the type of athlete we're trying to get, right? I mean, you want to be big up front, you want to be fast outside, and then you try to meld the two together, and he's a prime example of that. Like a lot of our true freshmen when they come in, you know, we really try to get them up to speed as fast as we can over the 8 weeks that we get them in the summer. And then in training camp, my job is to try to identify the things that he does really well and then keep putting him in those positions to do the things that he does well so he can build that confidence to play at our level. And in the meantime, work on all the other things that we know he's capable of doing. And so Brennan's a great example of that because I think he's going to have an impact on our team. How big, I don't know yet, but he has the skill set to have a guy that will be an impactful player for us.
Speaking of impactful freshmen, I'm curious what you thought of Cole Hudson this spring and how his development is going in terms of possibly being ready to be a contributor.
I was very impressed with Cole. You know, I think early on, one of our concerns with Cole was he came from a very run-dominant high school offense, right? And that transition to college of pass protecting and how quickly could he get there. He's a very big human being. We saw the physical nature. We saw the leadership qualities in him in winter conditioning. And we saw the player for about a week and a half. And then we saw a little bit of a lull of just the transition was the transition. And the last 2 weeks of spring ball, he really took off again. And I think there was a comfort level for him in pass protection. I think there was a physicality that he plays with that is just natural to his game. And I thought he played his best football the last week and a half, 2 weeks of spring ball, and showed up in the spring game. So hopefully he can continue to build upon that. And like, you know, one thing we challenged him with was coming out of spring, like as you guys know, I mean, every player on the team was, he's got a really cool chance to be that conduit between our current offensive line group and offensive football team with these 6 new linemen that are coming in here in the summer because he got that head start in the spring semester, and I think that he'll be a really cool leader of that group as far as getting them acclimated, getting them comfortable, getting them implemented into our culture. Then also a chance for him to kind of teach offline, right? Because all these guys are really hungry. They all wish they were here in spring ball. He happened to be the one that was here, and he's got the mental makeup to do that, to go along with the physical attributes.
For those 6 new ones that are coming, what has to happen in June, July for them to be ready in September?
Well, it's building the foundation, right? And what is the foundation? It's strength and conditioning. Every guy's going to be at a different level. It's conditioning. You know, I think one of the things that shocks a lot of the kids when they go to college is the amount of running that we do, that most programs do. And you start that running in the middle of summer in Austin, Texas, and you find out pretty quick, you know, and that's always one of the challenges. And then developing the foundation for just the general understanding of the fundamentals, the techniques, and the schemes. When we come back in August, now hopefully we've built that foundation that we can build upon that. And hey, to think all 6 guys will be ready to play in August is probably not realistic, but they're all going to be at varying stages at different levels. And we just got to identify the ones that kind of are a little further along mentally, physically, emotionally, and then try to empower them to compete for opportunities to play.
Steve, you talk to your kids about the SEC, or is that so far down the line that you've got to mind your business what you're doing?
I haven't talked to our team about it at all. We're in the Big 12, and we've got an opportunity, I think, to be a pretty good football team this fall, with an opportunity to compete for a Big 12 championship. And that's what our goal is. And I don't know, we have no reason to think otherwise, right? Our recent success or lack thereof should lend to, man, we should be striving to go win a Big 12 championship. We got to get ourselves to Arlington to do that. We'll worry about the SEC when that time comes. But for now, man, this is our focus. We've got a goal, we've got a mission, and now we got to try to go out and achieve it.
Looks like the University of Houston is going to be a part of that expanded Big 12 next year, 2023. What are your thoughts on what Dana's doing over here?
I think Dana's done a nice job. Dana's come in, and like every program, when you take it over, year one probably didn't go the way he would have hoped and wanted it to go. But what a fantastic year they had last year. Obviously capping that off with a big bowl win. They've got a very talented roster. They've got speed on that team. They've got talented defensive players. I'm sure they think they've got a really good team this year coming back. So I think Dana's done a nice job. I've got a lot of respect for the job that he's done throughout his career, and I'm sure they'll be a great addition to the Big 12.
So you talked about Brenen, Cole. I think he does justice. When have you thought about just going all in?
No, I've thought about going all in and fielding the best team we can field for the fall to win as many games as we can. Whether that's old, young, experienced, inexperienced. That's what my mission is. I didn't take the job to say, hey, we're thinking all solely about the future. I took the job, and I think I owe it to the University of Texas. I think I owe it to our players on our team to make sure that I'm putting our players and our university in the best position to win. And that's on a week-to-week basis. That's on a year-to-year basis. But also having the foresight to build our program for longevity in anticipation of what's to come. And so I thought we've done a good job of that, and just kind of how we've managed the transfer portal, how we've managed the recruitment of linemen, which I think is critical to the success of the program, and then ultimately how we've kind of implemented those newer faces into our schemes as they've gotten the opportunities to show what they can do.
In the first class, you only had, I think, 3 Houston area guys. I think in this current class, you have 2 committed. Just who do you send to the Houston area, and then also how do you get back and kind of take that and make it a fertile recruiting ground for you?
Yeah, I mean, Houston is obviously a very fertile recruiting ground. There's a lot of great players that have come from the Houston area that have come to UT and that haven't come to UT. And I think the key for us is to be diligent in our work ethic here. We've got great coaches that recruit. We staff recruit a lot of what we do. For some guys, this is their part of their area that they have. But at the end of the day, we've got to forge great relationships with the high school coaches, ultimately get connected to the players, their families, everybody involved. And sure, I'd like to sign more than 3 players from the Houston area, but at the end of the day, I don't want to sacrifice numbers for quality. And I think the kids that we've signed out of the Houston area and anticipating them coming are going to be very good football players for us. Ideally, we can raise that number some, but I don't want to just take numbers. I want to make sure we're getting quality people and quality players.
Steve, as you navigate NIL and the million questions that come with that, one of the questions that comes up is the disparity between some of the star players who have ginormous deals, some of the other players who might not. How do you address that within your program? How big of an issue will that be for all coaches going forward?
I think it's a challenge. Locker room continuity and culture is critical to our success. And that's why this summer, over the 8 weeks in the summer, and in training camp, a lot of what we're going to spend our time on is team building, culture. Again, I've touched on this. We'll have about 35, 36 new scholarship players in our locker room out of our 85. So that connection to the team, I think, is really important. The ability to share with one another, talk to one another, get to know one another. NIL is unique, right? Your name, image, and likeness. And what what does that do for you to create opportunities to earn money off the field in that aspect of it. And I use this guy as a great example. Bijan Robinson signs an NIL deal with Lamborghini. We all know he's a great football player, all-conference player, award winner, record-breaking runner. I think he's got another great year, poised for another great season. But every guy on our team knows Bijan Robinson's a better human being than he is a football player. How he represents the university, how he represents himself, the student that he is, the person that he is in the community. That ultimately is the result of that is why he's got this NIL deal with Lamborghini. Every player on our team, I'm sure, would love to drive a Lamborghini, don't get me wrong. But that guy kind of earned it, right? He earned it, one, through his play, two, through the person that he is. And that's the true essence of name, image, and likeness. So hopefully we can get our players to a point to where there's a level of respect for the guys that do have bigger NIL deals because of what they represent, how they go about their business on a daily basis.
Coach, from a recruiting philosophy standpoint, when it comes to recruiting quarterbacks, especially in the future, can you afford to only take one guy, or do you have to, because of the transfer portal and guys being impatient, do you almost have to kind of stack that room just because you never know what's going to happen there?
Yeah, it's always, the quarterback recruitment is always a little bit delicate, right? I think the natural theory is you take one guy a year, right? We were in a unique situation a year ago where, imagine if we didn't take two last year, right? With one transfer and one high school kid, we'd be in a pretty dire situation. So ideally, moving forward, we can kind of take one quarterback a year. But again, every year, different circumstances arise, injuries, transfers, things pop up to where maybe you have to take a transfer, maybe you have to take two high school kids. But I think the ideal format for us is one a year. I think that's when we recruit our best, and that's when we develop the relationships, not only from a recruitment standpoint, but those relationships carry over to the development of the player when we get him and when he's on our roster.
And how long can you afford to wait within that philosophy? You know, when you're doing one a year, is there kind of a cutoff where you tell yourself, hey, a lot of guys are coming off the board, you know, we got to make something happen?
I don't panic. You know, I didn't panic last year with the linemen. I won't panic with the quarterbacks this year, or any year for that matter. I think, you know, we pride ourselves, like I said, on the ability to develop the relationships with the kids, their families. You earn trust. If I didn't feel good about a situation, I would go in another direction. I feel pretty good about our track record. I could probably get a quarterback committed today. But ideally, I'd like to recruit the best guys, and that's how you build your roster. So it kind of stay the course.
I think in Dallas, you mentioned that when you build a roster, you're going to do it through recruiting primarily and sprinkle guys into the portal. But with personnel departments, have you expanded guys who just aren't just tracking portal, or is that kind of similar?
No, we have. We hired a guy by the name of Bobby Berry, who that's truly kind of what his job is to assess the portal and to assess our roster in essence of where our needs are. He's a guy who's worked in the NFL, worked in the CFL. He's used his eye as trained to study the college player and how they translate to the NFL, because ultimately that's what we're looking at now when you look at the portal, is how does a kid relate to, if he came to our program, would he be a frontline player? Because you only have so many years left. And as I touched on, the transfer portal for us is A, to really enhance your roster, or B, really fill a need. And I think that we've done a good job of that so far. We haven't gone to the portal and just gone crazy and signed 17, 18, 19 guys, because we're really trying to build a program that can sustain long term. But yet we do have some short-term needs that we think players can come in and help. We saw how that kind of worked for us, kind of last year and early in spring recruiting, and what those players look like in spring ball. But I also think moving forward, I don't really want to change that narrative. And not every player that goes in the portal, although they may be good players, are good fits for the University of Texas and for what we're trying to do. And that's what our scouting department's got to do a good job of, and then ultimately I got to make the decision, do we want to recruit the young man or not.
want to go back to talk about Brenen the track. How much do you guys value track time?
No, we do. You know, again, we're always trying to quantify how fast somebody is. You know, but again, we don't get stuck on it because I think football speed matters. How fast you play the game. You know, I've seen a lot of really good guys with track times not play very fast on the football field. So when you can see the track time carry over the film, now it starts to really make sense. But sometimes you can recruit a kid who's a 10-8 kid, but man, he looks 10-4 on the football field. Those guys are really fast too because they play fast, right? Their mind is playing fast. But when you have sub 10-5 kids or even sub 10-6 kids that play fast on the football field, those guys can become real factors on the team.
Coach, we won't.
You can do both.
Okay.
You guys got it.
Okay. Obviously, we won't
follow me around for 2 weeks.
So you'll have a reprieve. We won't see you again to Big 12 Media Days. When you guys get the field on the 31st, what's kind of things you want to accomplish from the 31st up until training camp gets started? Like, you know, I know you talked about off the field, but maybe some of the on the field stuff as well.
It's all laying a foundation, right? I mean, we're trying to lay a foundation for every kid. One, for our new players, right? We got to get them implemented from a schematic standpoint, and that means the fundamentals, the techniques. Like imagine Kyle Flood. We're all worried about scheme. He's going to have 6 linemen, right? He's worried about what does their stance look like? How do they take a 6-inch step? Where's their hand placement? There's so many little things to that position, a lot of nuances that he's got to work on with them, as well as building a foundation schematically. For our current players, like I said, we came out of spring ball and I met with every player of things that I want them to work on over the summer to get them ready for fall camp. So for a lot of players, it's very specific things that they're going to work on that hopefully they get improve upon to get them ready for fall camp so that they can be the best player they can be.
Thank you.
I'll finish with an easy one. Coaches don't control the kickoff times. TV controls that. What do you think about playing Alabama at 11 a.m.? What's your message to fans about, you know, coming early and being hydrated and ready to go?
We have a saying in our building: just spot the ball. We spot the ball, we play. You know, that's the nature of football. We can't control outside circumstances. The weather, hot, cold, the crowd, you know, we can't control those things. What we can control is what we do on the field and the way we play. I think from our fans' perspective, hey, everybody loves night games. You get a chance to tailgate all day long. You get a chance to kind of enjoy kind of the festivities. But at the end of the day, the world that we're in college football and in sports in general, TV is a factor, and TV is a factor in a lot of positive ways. And sometimes we don't get the kickoff times that we want, but we're going to show up, and our fans are going to show up, and it's going to be a great atmosphere whatever time we kick off. Thanks, Coach. Alrighty, guys.